Welcome to All Right in Sin City, a podcast about writers and writing in the Windsor-Detroit region. Your podcasters today are
Irene Moore Davis, author, educator, and local historian.
Sarah Jarvis, former bookseller, publishing rep, and literary festival chair.
and me, Kim Conklin, Windsor-based writer and filmmaker.
Our guest today is Stephen Mack Jones. Hammett Award and Nero Prize winning novelist Stephen Mack Jones is the author of the critically acclaimed thrillers August Snow and Lives Laid Away. Lives Laid Away was shortlisted for the CWA-UK Fleming Steel Dagger Award. He has also contributed an essay to the nonfiction book, What Now? Essays on Life After Trump, 2021, Wellstone Center of the Redwoods. His new book, Dead of Winter, was published in May. Stephen Mack Jones is also a published poet, an award-winning playwright, and a recipient of the prestigious Kresge Arts in Detroit Literary Fellowship. Once upon a time, he worked in advertising and marketing communications, for which he is deeply sorry and promises never to do that again. He lives in suburban Detroit and has 3 adult children that mostly like him. Welcome to the podcast, Stephen.
Thank you, Irene. It's great to be here. It really is.
It's great to have you. So we heard you read from your first book, August Snow, which was published in 2017.
Yes.
This is your third in the series of well-received books with this main character, and there's currently an ABC TV series starring Keegan-Michael Key in development, which is very exciting. What's the journey from that? What's the journey from that beginning to this point been like?
It's been very gratifying and extraordinarily odd. I'm a Midwesterner, so I like things in order and predictable, and nothing about this journey has been predictable. I was genuinely pleased when Soho published the first book, August Snow. I could have died happy right then and there. But suddenly, I have, and this was a couple of years ago, I have my literary agent calling me and saying, do you have time to speak with this producer next week, Tuesday at 2:00? And, since I have nothing to do but, make sure the recycling is sorted, I think I can open up that time for him. So to make a long story short, I had a talk with the initially interested producer twice. And I had seen most of everything this producer had done, film, television, what have you. And I was just stunned by the fact that he was essentially trying to sell me on, joining forces with him. After the second time we talked, he said, well, we'll talk again soon. And I hope you've come to a decision by that time. Well, a couple of times, a couple of weeks passed, a month passed, 2 months passed, and no other phone call. And I had wondered what had happened to Harvey Weinstein. And I think we all know what happened to Harvey Weinstein, justifiably so. But that's just an example of how weird it's been. Wonderful, trying at times, but strange.
The charismatic main character, August Snow, lives a complicated life. By Dead of Winter, he's a decorated ex-Marine with PTSD, an ex-Detroit cop who is now wealthy after a lawsuit with the city. He lives in Mexican Town in the house where he grew up, takes care of people around his neighborhood, and he just happens to get drawn into a multiple murder plot involving ghost houses for international criminals and the CIA. What's it like to be inside this guy's head?
I wouldn't go inside this guy's head without a flashlight and a gun. Now, I love August, but I think it would have been, after the first two books, I wanted to take the character deeper. I wanted to find out more about him and increase the risks for him. And I think it would have been disingenuous of me not to address any PTSD issues that he had, because he is a decorated former Marine sniper. And in that life, mistakes were made, and costly mistakes. Thank goodness he had the strength of a good family base, his artist mother and his Detroit cop father. So it was a further exploration of who this guy is, and how he interacts with people. Frankly, he would be happy just to stay at home and flip houses. But good people have intruded on his life. And for that, I think he's grateful. His neighbors.
It's told from first-person narration. So what's the most fun part as writing with him?
God, there's a lot that's really fun, Sarah. Part of it is living a different life through him. He doesn't hesitate, and he knows the law, and he knows what justice is, and he knows that those two things don't often pair up. So as he is living his life now, he can abide by the law, but he can dispense with his own justice. I guess what I get through it is, let's just say that I've never been inclined to violence. I don't own a gun. So for me, it's living vicariously through August, dispensing with what he feels is morally, ethically correct.
People around August Snow see him as both the benefactor and the boogeyman. There's a long tradition of detective heroes like Snow, men who step outside the law to fight both organized crime and government corruption. How do you view him in connection with that tradition? How does he play into that bigger storyline?
In general, I'll say this, an author that I greatly respected and actually cried when I found out that he had passed was Robert B. Parker and his character of Spencer, and also Jesse Stone and Susie Randall. But mostly I was influenced by Robert Parker, finding humor in very dark places, and also trying my best to explode tropes of the genre. Now, if you're going to write a mystery or a thriller, you're probably going to have utilized some of the time-tested tropes in that genre. But I like to see if I can twist them a little bit to, quite honestly, to amuse myself. And that's where the writing begins, is, trying to inform and entertain and amuse myself. I hope that answers the question. Sometimes I give answers and at the end it's like, what the heck did I just say? What can somebody help me, parse that. But I hope that answers your question.
Well, just to follow up a little, why do you think we gravitate toward or maybe even need complicated heroes like August Snow?
I think there's a need to find, I think we're always looking for a Superman or Superwoman that we can believe in, that somehow emboldens our own courage, and someone that is fallible, shows the fallibility of our own humanity and rises above the challenge. So I think regardless of the genre, whether it's high lit or whatever other genres may be, that's what I think people look for. I don't think anybody specifically goes out and says, wow, I want a book full of gun violence and blood. I think they go out and say, well, this sounds like my family, or this sounds like what I wished my family was like. So something that we can find our own sense of humanity in.
I know you don't like violence yourself or don't condone violence yourself, but is there anything you do feel you have in common with him?
We both appreciate good food, and that's become apparent. In fact, someone recently suggested, hey, why don't you write a August Snow cookbook? And it's like, okay, I'll put that on the back burner after I get these other stories taken care of. But the appreciation of food, because I think food is something that reveals cultural appreciation. He's half African American, half Mexican American, and he embraces both cultures. And the way he embraces them is through his proficiency in the kitchen. So I think it's a way of showing that appreciation. Also, I think I might share occasionally his snarky sense of humor. The thing with August is he will crack wise in a second. And as opposed to me, and I'm sure a lot of other folks who, go home after, a dinner party with people or after work or whatever, and you get home and you go, boy, I should have said this. That would have brought down the house. That would have brought him down to size. So it's, and also, this is terrible. I'm sorry, this is terrible. But also, writing mysteries and thrillers is a great way of getting back at people that may have wronged you in the past. In the first book, and I changed his name, but in the first book, I killed my 7th grade phys ed teacher. Oh, he was just a deplorable man, just deplorable. So, it's a way of going, okay, you're gone now.
I love the fact that you've been able to convert your lifelong basket of deplorables into characters that you can use in your books. That's the best revenge for sure. So August Snow is, as you mentioned, an accomplished cook and an enthusiastic foodie. And threaded through the book is an insider's tourist guide to Detroit restaurants and cuisine. He also appreciates local art and architecture. What is it that you want your readers to see in Detroit through August Snow's eyes?
I want to introduce a new way of thinking about Detroit. As I'm sure you folks know, the shorthand for Detroit is urban decay, black versus white, and extraordinary poverty. And sparks on an auto assembly line. Now, those four things exist, but there's so much more to this city. And there's so much more, especially now after the emergence from bankruptcy. There's still a long way to go, but there are an extraordinary number of cultures and from around the world. People outside of this area would think, well, I'm going to Detroit. I like Vietnamese food, but all I hear about is conies, so I guess I'll have to do that. Well, we have Vietnamese food here. We have a wonderful Vietnamese population. We have wonderful East Indian and Pakistani populations. So, and all of those cultures live here and thrive here, and especially with artists. It wasn't too long ago that musician and poet Patti Smith said, essentially said, if you're young and an artist, don't come to New York. New York will chew you up. And her suggestion was that they go to Detroit. And it's still going to be a struggle, but artists seem to thrive here. So to answer your question, I want to introduce a new way of thinking about Detroit.
What do readers tell you about the way you portray the city? Like, what's their feedback then?
The feedback has been incredible. It's just been wonderful, Irene. This was maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. I got a letter, an actual letter that was sent to my publisher and then forwarded to me from a university professor at University of Southern California. And she was a native Detroiter. She had been away from Detroit for 40 years, but she was compelled to write me concerning the first 2 books and tell me how much she loved the descriptions of the city and the restaurants and that whole scene. It had a warm familiarity to her, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear.
Dead of Winter has a big cast of recurring characters and a fast-moving, complicated plot. How do you manage the character development and plotting processes? Is it planned or is it instinctive?
Wow, Sarah, look at the time. I've got to go. No, that question, it really kind of embarrasses me because there's the old question of are you a plotter or a pantser? Yeah, you know that question? Do you fly by the seat of your pants and just make it up as you go along, or do you plot? Or do you have like 12, 15 pages of outline? And I have outlined stories, but I always seem to lose those notebooks. So generally, my way of writing can be best described as jumping off a cliff backwards at night and hoping, I land on something soft. There are times when, and this is the way it mostly goes, I can write chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and then chapter 7, chapter 12, chapter 23, and then backfill, which is an inglorious way of describing writing. I mean,
it's actually very clear. Yeah. Do you do a lot of that in the editorial process, or do you do it from the front?
The editor, I have to put it this way. Even though I apologize for my time in advertising, working in advertising taught me how to write and rewrite again. So there is that discipline. Writing the first draft of a book, or really anything, a poem, what have you, writing that first draft is the art. And for me, the craft comes in rewriting, of going through that first draft and saying, okay, I need more connective tissue here. There's something that I don't need to explain. There's a hole here that needs to be contribute to the story. So the art is really the hard part, getting that first draft done. The rewrites are the craft, and I really enjoy the craft. It can be frustrating, but that's where the story begins to get all of its subtle colors and feel.
What's your secret to snappy dialogue? How do you approach writing that?
Oh gosh, there's no secret to snappy dialogue. Like I said, it's August for me is an outlet for saying things in the moment that should be said. I've for sake of civility, a lot of things I haven't said to people, but August, that filter is gone with him. I think he knows when to be snarky, and he knows when to listen. And I think it's just as important for August as it is with me to listen. That, in fact, this is the most I've talked probably all weekend. So thank you for that.
Well, not to give too much away, but Snow does have kind of a big life change during the book, this last book. He takes a big step. Might the next book be set somewhere outside of Detroit, somewhere else perhaps?
Oh, you are a crafty one, Kim. Oh, have you been using Alexa to listen in? Yeah.
I'm just a good guesser.
Again, I have to go back to the fact that I'm a Midwesterner. I don't like to talk about things that I'm doing until they're done. That being said, while things could end on this third book, I'm working on the fourth. And it will have, I can promise you that it will have a very different beginning and a very different location at the beginning. How's that?
Thank you. I feel like we got a bit of a scoop.
Well, yeah, I am working on the fourth in the series. And again, I after the third one, Dead of Winter, which I just happen to have a copy of here, magnetically attaches to my face. It was really kind of emotionally, intellectually challenging for me, and it was an emotional and intellectual challenge that I chose to pursue. So once it was done, I was just a wreck. You know, I wasn't slouching around the house or snapping at my lovely wife, but I was, you know, it was like, wow, if this is what you do to a character you love, what do you do to the ones that you hate? It was like, oh gosh. So it was, and I thought, okay, I need some distance. And after about a week of distance, I had this thought of, well, what if, and it was like, okay, down the rabbit hole we go. And it's mostly a fun rabbit hole. But yeah, that's the way that started.
Well, resilience, as Irene has pointed out in previous podcasts, is part of the 313 DNA. So he's back. Great. Would you like to read a little bit for us?
Certainly. And I think it's a part of the 313 DNA, and like we talked about before getting things together, I think it's a part of the Windsor, Ontario DNA. It's one of acceptance and challenge and humility and humanity. I'll start with a chapter after August has gone through a very physically and emotionally brutal challenge. And it's one that actually puts him in the hospital. And I'll start in the middle of this chapter. As much of a surprise as it was having Detective Captain Leo Cowling visit, it was even more alarming when, an hour later, a Dr. Enrique Manfredo entered the room, closed and locked the door, then pointed a suppressed Chinese Type 06 9mm handgun to my nose. "Let me guess," I said to the young Asian man standing over me. "You're not really Dr. Enrico Manfredo." Without a word, he took a phone out of its white lab coat, pressed 2 digits, and handed the phone to me. "Am I speaking with Mr. Snow?" a voice said. "Speaking," I answered brightly. "Hey, listen, if this is about me renewing my cable service, forget it. Cable's so 20th century." The man on the other end issued a sincere and robust laugh. Nothing like killing with an audience that truly wants to kill you. No, the man said, I assure you, this is not a solicitation for renewing your cable service. This is an inquiry about $30 million of my money, or rather, my employer's money. Wait a minute, hold on, pal, I said. When did it become 30 million? 10 million cash, 20 million negotiable bonds, the man said. Indications are you took possession of these funds after killing Mr. Sloan. Is this true? And before you answer, Mr. Snow, let me assure you, my associate is nowhere near as patient or forgiving as me. If you have the money and agree to turn it over to me, my associate leaves you to heal peacefully. If, however, you lie to me, things will get very final, very fast. Am I understood? Perfectly, I said. And without further delay or ado, I declare my innocence. Meaning, I don't have your goddamn money, I said. I never did. You killed Mr. Sloan for, hey, no offense, and I have to pause here. There's some rough language. Shall I continue?
Please.
Thank you. Hey, no offense, but are you as deaf, dumb, and blind as my swinging dick? I said. Sloan's got your money. The body in the morgue is a cutout. Some poor homeless vet who mostly fits Sloan's description. Sloan is probably somewhere rolling in bed with your money and drinking pina coladas. Jesus, are you telling me I'm smarter than some international consortium of brigands and ne'er-do-wells? Because that's really kind of sad. The other end of the line was quiet for a moment. Then the man said, why have you persistently interfered with business that isn't remotely yours to be interested in? An old man I'd known since I was a kid died because of people of questionable moral character that you dangled your money in front of, I said. This city, my motherfucking city, has gone through enough shit without you importing rich criminals, building luxury apartments, and cheating tax rolls that already bleed the poor to death. And the Jersey boys you sent to cat me, the ex-cop, the ex-con you paid to put me in the ground, listen to me very carefully. I didn't take your money, not a fucking dime, but you have for damn sure motivated me to snatch the breath out of your fucking lungs. Silence on the other end of the line. The killer in my room moved the suppressed gun a quarter-inch closer to my nose. I will, of course, investigate your story, Mr. Snow, the man on the phone finally said. If you're lying, let me guess, I said, you'll put me in the hospital. Did you put Lincoln Quinn's head in the box? Sometimes the wayward enthusiasm of my young associate overextends itself. I hope Mr. Quinn wasn't a friend. He was an asshole. That doesn't mean I approve of you going around my city lopping heads off. Of course not, he said. Since we're old pals now, what do I call you? Mr. A, he said, or the albino. Seriously? Isn't that a little... Goodbye for now, Mr. Snow. He disconnected. I tossed the phone back to the young Asian man holding the gun on me. He caught the phone. I said, Your mom wants you home no later than 9 and pick up some Rocky Road ice cream on the way. You're not funny at all, the young man said. His accent was Australian, not British. A rookie mistake some folks make. You're just a sad, beat up, beat to shit old punter. Jesus, look at you. And you look like this so-called albino's delivery boy, I said, so fuck off. Slowly, he pressed the suppressed barrel of his 9mm to my forehead for a second or two, smiled, said, trust me, mate, Bob's not your uncle. Be seeing you.
Thank you so much for that. It's great fun to hear it again, and it's a wonderful read. Thank you so much for joining us, Stephen Mack Jones.
Thank you. And for those who are sensitive to language, such as my 95-year-old mother, I apologize.
I think a little language in a mystery novel is expected. I think you're okay.
Somehow I can't imagine Agatha Christie saying those words, but
well, it was a different time. Yeah,
that she did in real life.
Those two disappeared.
They just didn't put them in writing. Well, this has been a joy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, folks. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. Look for more episodes of All Right in Sin City wherever you listen to podcasts, or check out our website, allrightinsincity.com. For information and announcements of new podcasts, sign up to our email list or follow us on Facebook and Twitter.